My family, we like to live with each other.
Yeah.
You know, that's a very Hispanic thing to, live with your entire family for however many generations.
Where's your family from?
Uruguay. Uruguay. Yeah.
Right on.
So
I knew that.
I know. But it's a very cultural common thing for us.
Yeah.
To live close to our grandparents, our kids, everything.
That's every culture except for people in the United States.
Yep.
For some reason.
No, for some reason we painted it so negatively. Like, no, when you're 18, you got to leave. You got to be your own person. Like, no other country does that.
No, it's like the worst advice that we give in this country. It is the dumbest thing that we encourage.
How in the world do you expect an 18-year-old to sufficiently survive? And they don't even know how to do their taxes.
No, well, the point is you end up moving somewhere and then your parents pay your bills. It's totally silly.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous.
But then we also, I know plenty of families who are somewhat like that, who follow that whole American mentality and whatnot. And they end up just absolutely despising their parents. So at a certain point, they are more than happy to move away from them, to go to college in a different state, stay there after college, and then just continue their lives, treating their parents like distant friends.
Well, I think part of it is they were culturally, for a while, there was a group of people there that decided they didn't want to be parents long term. So they kind of cooked this scheme up in their head. Well, if we just encourage these kids to go to college, we can get them out of our hair.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how a lot of people were treated for a certain era. Mm-hmm. My generation, we're definitely not doing that. In fact, I called my older brother, a few months ago, and I was like, oh, your son's going to be, he's going to go to college pretty soon. He could go to college now. My brother was like upset. He's like, I don't want him to leave. He's like, I want him to stay home as long as he can. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, that was not the environment that I grew up in back in the 90s. In the 90s, you turned 18 and you either get out of the house or you get out of the house and you go to college or you join the military. Or, I had friends that straight lived in tents up in the canyon. I'm not kidding.
Yep.
They did. I had friends that were living in tents in the canyon because they didn't want to live with their parents, because in their head, they had this idea that they had to get out immediately.
Yeah.
And I'm down for leaving your parents home. Do that.
Sure.
But I think it's super beneficial to stay in the community you grew up in for a lot of reasons. I didn't realize that when I left, the city I grew up in. And I super regret, I regret nothing that I've done, but I regret having perpetuated that weird concept that I was around. I think I would have ended up making the same amount of money. I would a lot of things I ended up doing, I would have been just fine if I would have stayed where I was at.
Yeah.
But I totally disconnected myself from all of my super close friends. And I had all these great hobbies that I had to walk away from.
Yep.
Super cool people.
Yep.
Had to disconnect from family just so I could go to LA. I went to LA, the stupidest place to move on the whole planet. And I was living in Highland Park, and there was cars on fire outside and bullets. There was literal physical assaults in the building I lived in. At one point, some lady got attacked and nobody came out to help her but me. I was the one person in the building that was trying to stop this brutal assault. Yeah, forget that.